Welcome to the Business Spotlight podcast. My name is Kay Cote, and I'm your host for today's episode. And today on the show, we have Dr. Howard Polansky, founder of Financially Led, as my guest. We're going to be learning about his business, his journey to business ownership, best practices, and challenges that he's faced to give you that inside look to what it's like to own and operate a business. Welcome, Dr. Howard. So great to meet you.
Kay, great to meet you as well. And let's just get the doctor part out of the way. I don't practice anymore, so now you can just call me Howard moving forward.
Okay, wonderful. Thanks, Howard.
That,
All right. Well, before we kick it off to talk about all things business, I'd love to share a bit about you. So feel free, take us back as far as you want and share a bit about yourself.
yeah, so I was a practicing dentist, 16 years, Navy first, private practice second. The problem was I hated it. And it's miserable going and doing a job and having a career where you just feel stuck and don't know where to go, don't know how to pivot. And then sometimes life leaves you little clues, and other times life hits you with a two by four. My two by four moment was Sunday morning, Memorial Day weekend, 2018. Jaden, my older son, is 12 years old. I'm sitting next to his bed. He realizes I'm there and he says, Dad. His voice is barely above a whisper. Yeah, buddy. I lean over the bed. I put my ear over his mouth to make sure I can hear him. And he says three words I'll never forget. Am I dying?
Hmm.
12 days earlier, Jaden came home with a stomach ache. 3 days after the stomach ache, we're in the ICU in the children's hospital having emergency surgery. It was appendicitis that turned septic, 29 days in the hospital, 19 of them in the ICU, 8 straight days of sedation because he went to the operating room 5 times. After they take the tube out of his throat, they give him methadone and morphine to bring him down from the drugs he was on. So imagine your child looks like a heroin addict coming down from a high. And the very first question they will only ask you are those three little words. Am I dying? My first breath was, did I hear him correctly? My second breath was, do not lose it right now. I look him in the eyes. I tell him, no, you're not dying. You've had prayers from thousands of people all around the world, and you're going to be just fine. He looks at me. He knows I'm telling him the truth. He closes his eyes to get more rest. I walk outside the room and I broke. I was already miserable. I was burnt out from dentistry and I was taking it out on everyone around me. But when I broke, only one thought seared into my mind. If life is this fragile and I'm unhappy with the path that I'm on, burn the ships. It's over. That's what I did. Sold my practice. September 2018, just walked away.
Wow, that is a powerful story and takes a lot of courage.
It's one that I hope others never have to go through, but it's one that I needed to go through.
Mhm, mhm, mm. The pivot, yeah, the pivot. It was like it kind of reminds me of a quote, actually. We all have two lives, and our second one begins when we realize we have just one.
That's a good one. I have not heard that one, but
Hmm.
yep, that resonates for sure.
Oh, well, thank you for that powerful story. And how is your son doing today?
Oh, he's great, actually. He's 20. He's a second year at UT Austin and healthy, taller than me, better looking than me, and has way more hair than me. So he's fine. Yeah. It thankfully I can joke about it now, but yeah, during the time it was just pure hell.
Mm, especially as like a parent going through that. So let's talk about that pivot. Now, what did you do after that? You decided, okay, you're done with your practice. What was next? Like what was there? Did you know what you wanted to do right away, or how did you get into what you're doing now?
Yeah, it's no, it was a really dark time for probably a good year in terms of you're wrapped up in, at least for me, and I think for most people, you're wrapped up in the identity of what you do. And especially when you start to consider some of these professions where there is a specific track in terms of college, then whether it's dental school, medical school, law school, and the years behind that, and the debt behind that, and all of the time and energy and aggravation and frustration to get to a point where you say, I'm done, and you're just like, what the hell did I do with my life? But putting all of that aside, in terms of where I'm at now, as I was transitioning out of dentistry, I'm sitting with another dentist who asked the obvious question of how are you walking away, especially because of all the debt that's associated with dentists. And I made one dumb comment to him. I said, I kind of figured out how to make money move. Now, he gave me that Scooby Doo look. I tried to explain things that day. I just didn't do a good job. But a few weeks later, I get the next statement in the mail for my house payment. I took a picture of it literally as a joke, sent it to this guy, and I said, hey, take a look at this. My house payment was $24.19. And all he could write back is, I see it. I still don't get it. I'm buying a condo next month. Will you teach me? I'm like, I guess so. Got nothing else to do. So he ended up paying off the condo in 8 months instead of 30 years. And so he tells his business partner, I tell a friend of mine what happened. They become the next two people I teach. And all of a sudden, my heart opens up where I finally listen and says, the way you're going to make an impact in this world, it's not dentistry. The way you're going to make an impact is by teaching people what I call the new rules of finance and the system around it so that they can get to their freedom sooner. That's why I'm here. That's what I do now.
Oh, very cool. Well, I'm excited to dive in because this is something I just know the audience is going to love because who isn't excited about being able to make their money work for them? I'm excited to hear more about this. So now you started the company. How long have you been in business?
Uh, Officially planted the flag March of 2020, which was awesome timing. Um, and most, sometimes it's asked in terms of, well, who can you help? And it's like that whole thing of, well, I can help anyone, which means I'm helping no one. From an external perspective, Kay, like most of my clients are dentists.
Mhm.
But if you really just generalize it, if you are a business owner and you have debt with your business, you probably have debt on the personal side as well. That's where I'm focusing. I don't tell people where to invest. I don't I don't care if you invest in the stock market. I don't care if it's real estate, Bitcoin, put it under your mattress or reinvest back into your business. I am looking specifically at your expenses and even more specifically the fixed debt payments and saying if that debt payment was gone from your life faster and more efficiently, that means that that payment that was going out every 30 days is now staying in your pocket, which allows you to do whatever, however you decide in terms of growth. So it's this weird little niche that people just say, oh, you've got debt and you have to deal with it. It's like, no, deal with it a better way. And that's what I teach.
Mm, that's incredible. Okay, so you talked about a little bit about your ideal clients. Is there a certain, you talk dentistry for dentists mostly, but what would you say your archetype for your client really is on like a little deeper level?
It's someone that understands their income needs to be greater than expenses on a consistent basis. That's not to say that you're not going to have a negative month. That's why you have an emergency fund. How,
Mhm.
roof repair, water heater goes out, something with the car, whatever it may be. But more often than not, income's greater than expenses. You have an emergency fund already built up. You're putting away for retirement. You have this extra money. You're like, now what? That's the perfect client because while you're trying to figure out the now what is let's efficiently pay off the debt, but you still have access to the cash. That's the whole key to this is how do you pay off debt and have access to the cash? And so let me just go with a very, very simple example, Kay. Do you own your home?
I do not.
You do not. Okay. But if you decided to end up purchasing the home, you would get a mortgage and let's just call it $2,500 a month. When you make that payment of $2,500, can you call the bank and say, I know that I just made that payment 3 days ago. Can I get any of it back? What's their answer going to be?
Mhm. Usually no.
Oh,
I,
not only is it no, they'll just laugh at you and hang up. All right. And so there's a reason or the irony of a mortgage and an amortization schedule have the same root word, MORT, as mortuary and mortician. The system is set up for you to make payments until the day you die, or you're going to die trying. All
Hmm.
right. And so even if you want to pay off that house faster, let's just say every few months you had like an extra 5 grand that you wanted to pay against the house. Well, what's your payment the next month? It's
Mhm.
still the $2,500. It does not change. So you have these fixed rocks, these fixed expenses in your way that when life throws you a curveball, all of a sudden you're like, I don't have any wiggle room.
Hmm.
I have no way to maneuver. I've got no flexibility around this. And instead, what I'm trying to teach is in terms of financial flexibility first on the path to however you define freedom. And the way that we do this, and I'm not trying to keep it a secret, is utilizing lines of credit in a very strategic, systematic way that you're using an open ended tool against these fixed payments.
Hmm. Okay. Okay. So I love this. Now, I kind of want to go back to now where your business is at today and kind of bring it back to what the building blocks were to get here. So now currently, is it you? Are you solopreneuring or do you have a team? And if you do have a team, what does that team look like?
It's so for right now, it's basically me and a part-time person that's helping on the marketing side of things.
Okay. Okay. Amazing. So how are you marketing? Because what you have here is gold. So what are some of your marketing tactics you're doing to find clients?
Speaking engagements is one. Referrals is really big. Webinars is extremely helpful. Going on podcasts like this, um, and then with the marketing person is that they are basically using Facebook and LinkedIn and posting every single day in terms of the concept, at least for dentists, making Mondays optional. How do you get, because you have that Sunday dread in terms of, I'm going to be a slave to the dental chair again on Monday. So, how can we make it that you have instead of a 3 day weekend, now it's a 4 day weekend just because we have freed up the debt. We have freed up having those student loans and the practice loan and the equipment debt. And now it's at a manageable level where you're just like, I can breathe. I can finally live. The whole journey to this point is finally worth it.
Wow, that's incredible. Monday having Mondays off is there is something freeing about that. So that's probably exciting your clients just saying that alone. Like, let's get those Mondays off the table. Oh,
Yeah,
very
it's a good feeling when you have flexibility.
definitely, definitely. Okay, so I love what you're building. We covered the marketing. Now, what has been your biggest challenge as, as an entrepreneur, as you're on this journey? What's been something you're faced with currently that you're working through in the business?
Thinking large enough has probably been my largest roadblock mentally, thinking that I don't really need that many clients to be able to make this work and have fun. And let me step back. After I got out of dentistry, I was like, if I'm going to pursue something, there's got to be fun around this. I know that there are other people, as few as it might be, that actually love the work that they do. And is there a way, in terms of, there's the phrase work life balance? And I'm like, the last I remember, L comes before W in the alphabet. So is there a way for me to have a life work balance? How do I create the life that I want and have the work around it and supporting the life that I want?
Mm,
And I realized like I don't need that many people to interact with to make that happen. And yet I was thinking too small. Because back in 2024, for the people that did engage and interact with me and move forward, over the upcoming 12 months of whenever that date started, their cash flow improvement over all the families was going to be $1.3 million.
hmm
This is, they already did the work. It was literally $1.3 million was going towards debt payments that was now staying in their pocket.
mm,
And I'm like, okay, with now my marketing person, let's 10x the number. What would that look like? And once I backtracked and figured out the numbers to it, I'm like, damn it, that number's too small.
mm,
So now it's like, so now it's 100xing that number and getting to 100 million, where it's just like, all right, that feels painful. That feels like I don't know if I could ever get to that point, which means that that's exactly where I'm supposed to be mentally.
Okay, okay. What you're sharing is really a golden nugget of this conversation because that is something so many entrepreneurs are faced like we're faced with that same question of like thinking bigger. So thank you for sharing about that. And I kind of want to dive in deeper on it. How are you working through that? Are there certain things you're doing now to spark that expansion process?
Um, it was again just trying to bring the, and I know this is what you guys do at Action Coach quite well, is if we expand the size of the goal, what does that really look like on a day-to-day tangible, if you want to even go hour by hour, a tangible level to say like if you're hitting these metrics, then you are working towards that goal. You may not see it today, you may not see it tomorrow, but at least we know like working backwards, that's where it's at. So for me, that number is I have to have 9 appointments a day on the calendar. Not by me alone, I would die trying to do that. So I would have to have a team eventually to be able to get up to that point. But I'm like, even if we look at just the world of dentists to understand what that looks like, 9 appointments a day, 200 days a year, that's 1,800 appointments. In theory, that would be $100 million cash flow proposals. And I know not everyone's going to say yes, and that's fine. But if it's an interaction with 1,800 dentists, that's only 1% of just dentists in the
Okay.
US.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like, even then, that's still well within reason. And so it's like, what else can I do to try and prepare for that? So, like, I've been rearranging how I'm trying to collect data so that it's more AI friendly, that once I get the data and able to prompt AI appropriately on how to do it, then it can calculate and speed up that part of it. So that I'm trying to think a few steps ahead, and that's really where I'm at right now.
Oh, that's powerful. I think that's a really great, like just thinking about that as you move into the future. It kind of brings me perfectly into the next question, which is where do you see your company going in the next, say, 3 to 5 years?
Um, Certainly getting larger. Um, I don't know. This year was just such a wonky year. If you asked me 12 months ago where I'd be, I thought I'd be much further along. And it's okay that I'm not. Um, just because I've seen a lot of hurt in the dental field this year. Just I think I think business owners outside of dentistry just don't understand kind of how much debt you take on with no guarantee, even though it sounds like it's a great career. Okay, you probably like the two most expensive dental schools in the US is NYU and University of Southern California. They tell the incoming freshmen for the next 4 years, just for dental school, you will be taking out $800,000 of debt.
Mm,
That's
wow.
just for those 4 years. That's not college. That's not why, if you want to purchase a practice or start up, that's not, you have to have a roof over your head, car payments. That's just the 4 years of dental school.
Mhm.
Average 40-year-old dentist is at least negative $1 million in net worth.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
And you guys think that they're crushing it. No, they're getting crushed.
Wow. Yeah, I had no idea. Yeah, no idea.
Yeah, there really isn't any reason that you should. And you then have, the cost of things going up. You have a shortage of staff between assistants and hygienists where and then you get reimbursement from insurance, which has been cutting over time. It's getting to a point where it really is becoming challenging for this industry to be able to succeed moving forward. I'm not going to say it's going to crumble tomorrow, but give it another 10-ish years, it's going to look really different. And there are going to be winners. It does not matter what industry, there's always going to be winners and there's always going to be losers. And there's going to be a few people that are going to win and figure it out. But it's going to be a world of hurt for a lot of other healthcare practitioners.
Okay. Yeah, it's going to be interesting as the next few years take shape in our country. That's a whole nother podcast. But
Yeah.
yes, I mean, this has been so enlightening, this conversation. I'm looking at our time kind of as we're getting gearing towards the end of the conversation. Again, Howard, I could probably talk to you for hours about this. But thank you for sharing, just the kind of what you're going through and what you're building to help others to find that, financial stability, financial freedom, and grow their education. So I really appreciate that. And now I want to dive into our rapid fire questions, if that works for you.
Yeah, let's go for it.
All right, feel free to answer. Very top of mind, I'll be asking you four questions. Question number one is, what is a key to success for you?
Integrity.
Mm, that's a good one. It's very true. What is a piece of advice you have for other business owners?
It is Your profit and loss is complete nonsense. It's about the cash flow and where you are having this disconnect between what your income statement is saying and what your bank account is saying. 95% of it is because of the debt payments.
Mm, very true. Again, thank you so much for that answer. Number three is, it could be a book, a podcast, just anything that has inspired you recently.
Uh, in regards to a book, the author's name is T. Harv Eker. Last name is Eker. It's an older book called The Secrets of the Millionaire Mind. It's not a hard read at all, but that's where I would go with first.
Nice. I'll add that to my list. Number four is, now feel free to take your time on this one. Uh, if I gave you a magic wand and you could overnight improve one aspect of your business, what would it be?
It would be having more opportunities to analyze not just dentists, but anyone who's inspired to say, is this guy for real? Like, can he really free up money for me without changing anything on my lifestyle? And more often than not, the answer, thankfully, is yes.
Hmm. Hmm. That's beautiful. Well, thank you for sharing that, Howard. Before we get to our final question of the day, how can folks get connected with you and your company online?
Yeah, so the company is called financiallyled.com. Um, Kay, I dropped in the chat a cash flow quiz. It'll take you 3 minutes. It's about 12 questions, and it scores you in terms of how optimized you are for cash flow. It's not in terms of revenue growth. I'll leave that to Action Coach. In terms of profitability or what your accountant says is probably if you're profitable, I'll leave that to them. It's in terms of the money that is left over for you to spend elsewhere so that you can live your life.
Thank you. I clicked that. I'm happy to share that too with our team to pop it in the show notes for the for this podcast as well. So thank you for sharing that. And Howard, for our final question of the day, what is most inspiring to you today?
I have to go back a couple weeks, Kay, and it's going to take a little bit of explaining. So, my younger son, who's now 17, he is in the high school band, and their band is has had a number of accolades over the years. They compete down in the finals in Texas, down in the Alamo Dome in San Antonio. You can find this online. Their 18 wheeler, which hauls most of their equipment, got hit by a train.
Oh my gosh.
All right. And if you want to look this up, it's called Vandegrift High School, Vandegrift. Vandegrift High School band truck hit by train. You'll find the video.
Oh wow.
Thankfully, no one was hurt. Okay. No one passed away. The kids did not see this. But the inspiration is the following: the community came together. The other bands lent their instruments so that Vandegrift could compete.
Oh my gosh, that is inspiring.
The police and the fire department who were there to, and thankfully 95% of the instruments were salvageable, but the police and the fire department are like, we're parents too. We know how hard these kids work. Let's try and get everything we can over to the Alamo Dome so that they have a chance. The judges work to go for that. They could go from 4 o'clock down to 9:15 at night to finally compete to qualify. And they did. And again, it does not matter that they came in third the next day. It was just the way that the community came together and just said, the yes, it is a competition, but that's not the point. The point is that there were seniors in high school and they had a chance to finally have their last show.
Oh, that is inspiring. I mean, I love that the community banded together. I think that's huge. Thank you for sharing.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's really, really inspiring. Oh, well, Howard, thank you for this conversation, for being a guest on the show and sharing your story with me today.
Thank you, Kay.